Hey everybody, Soulless Reviews here, and today I'm going to talk about Justin Bieber's 2014 project, Journals. Now, it may seem a little odd that I'm reviewing an album from a year ago, but there is one simple explanation for this, and that is, I haven't listened to a single Justin Bieber album yet. Oh yeah, it's true. The man made his mark all the way back in 2009 with My World, then slowly progressed as a developing pop star that people have adored over the last couple years. I mean, straight up adored. Every single song that he drops seems to automatically go to the #1 song, and he's a fucking phenomenon. However, not necessarily in the best way. His earlier work was extremely cheesy and cliche pop music, coming off to a lot of people, including myself, to be extremely annoying. Never actually listened to My World, but of course everybody who's even a person has heard Baby by Justin Bieber, his original Outbreak track that everybody's heard and is just straight up annoying. From there, it didn't get much better. I mean, in the media, he was just getting slammed by, a bunch of stupid shit, peeing in public, something about a monkey and, racing cars and his own development. A lot of ignorant teen shit that he got caught for. And alongside that, his music isn't getting all that much better either. He dropped Believed in 2012, which was just 2 years after My World 2.0. And it was slightly better. I mean, there were some better songs on there, but it still wasn't all that great. Like I said, I haven't actually heard it. But you couldn't not hear songs like All Around the World, Boyfriend, As Long As You Love Me, and Beauty and the Beat that were just surfacing all over the radio at different times. After 2012, I really didn't know what Justin Bieber was going to do. I thought maybe he was just going to continue making this kind of cliche-ish pop music, and I thought that was going to be the end of it once he passed away. People were just going to remember him from doing that. But with this album right here, Journals, people seem to actually not necessarily love this album, but they took a step back and actually were like, this isn't terrible. People actually recognize this as being more of an R&B soul project more than a cheesy pop album. It wasn't more so of a gimmick project for teens as it was Justin Bieber trying to fully express himself in a lane of music. So with Purpose being only a few days away and me not having no interest to listen to his first 2 albums, I thought, why don't I listen to the album that actually had people slightly interested and seemed to be a decent project? So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am going to listen to Journals by Justin Bieber, and then afterwards I am going to tell you guys just how I feel about it. Alright, so yeah, I can definitely see the confliction that happens with people on this album. You see, people went into Journals not really knowing to expect, probably expecting this really pop, cliche Justin Bieber that they've had for 2 albums straight, maybe 3 if you include that whole Christmas ordeal. But when you actually listen to Journals, it's something a little different in that yes, Justin Bieber is taking a more R&B soul approach to his music. There is way less pop cliches, and more him focusing on being a soulful character than just appealing to more teenage girls, even though this probably does that anyways. However, in that evolution from a minor pop artist to a more soulful artist, he manages to make himself sound extremely bland on almost this entire project. I don't know if there are still Bieber fans out there who are going to ether me to hell for making this review, but still, can you honestly listen to this thing from first song to last song and tell me that you weren't, not interested in this music at any point during it? Look, I'm glad Justin Bieber isn't making that pop dog shit anymore. This is better than that. I can completely agree. But that doesn't better isn't necessarily interesting, it just means better than what you used to be doing. The pattern that most of the songs on this album follow are Justin Bieber whining about an issue or wanting to be with this girl, and it doesn't differ much than that. I mean, I was interested on the intro track, Heartbreaker, when Justin Bieber was talking about how he doesn't want the love between this girl to die, but it seems he's putting in more of an effort to make the relationship work than the girl is. She's doing all the complaining that the relationship isn't working out, while he's putting in most of the effort, and that kind of caught my attention a little bit. It was definitely a more smoother, less bubblegum pop-ier track, and that caught my attention. I mean, there were some nice guitar plucks on there, and I also didn't mind the heavyweight bass that it had attached to it. But really, the other songs on this album don't stray away too far from that formula. He does have different instrumental elements, like on All Bad where there's more tribal drums, or on Change Me where he has a soul piano and he's singing over it, very R&B-esque. But for Bieber, it seems to be all of a checklist. I mean, sing in a mellow tone, check. Choose kind of like a very eerie instrumental, check. And then make it about a girl, whether good or bad, check. Yes, there are way upbeat tracks like the Future Assisted track, what's happening, but I mean, overall, this thing, it tries to be as mellow as possible, and Justin Bieber, he really isn't reaching that many vocal ranges. He's using pretty much the same tone throughout the majority of this project, which really aids in the fact that, I mean, the first couple tracks on here especially really kind of bore me to death, because yes, Bieber is being a little more sentimental in his lyrics, but at the same time, he's not being all that interesting. He's kind of just riding along, very mellowy. It's almost like a lullaby, but I mean, who wants to listen to music for a lullaby? This is Justin Bieber we're talking about, one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. Nobody wants to hear this, like, really mellow music from him. We want to hear something more upbeat and something we can actually vibe out to a little bit. I think the best example comes from one of my favorite tracks on here, probably one of my only favorite tracks on here, is Confident with Chance the Rapper. In this song, Bieber is describing how he finds it extremely attractive that a girl has the confidence to come up to him and tell him how she really feels about him in a very calm manner. It's not completely fangirl over him, but yet at the same time she's not too shy to talk to him. When a girl approaches him in a very calm, collective manner, that's what he finds the most attractive. And I actually found myself enjoying the song a little bit, because not only did it have a more upbeat cha-cha feel to it, and Chance the Rapper killed his guest verse. I mean, for somebody who wasn't even that famous during that time, all he had was 2 mixtapes. I mean, he really pulled through there. I think Chance the Rapper did great. But other than those 2 factors, I think Justin Bieber actually sounded into it. It sounded like a song he actually wanted to make, as opposed to some of these other songs that kind of sound not necessarily half-assed, but he wasn't all that into it. He came up with the idea, he came up for the instrumentals, but he just didn't care enough to really carry it out to the listeners. Whereas Confident, I think it really had that vibe, the really, like, upbeat kind of vibe you can actually jam out to, because it sounded like he cared about the song. And there were even times when Biebs, he didn't exactly pick mellow production, but it didn't sound all that great either. If anything, it felt a little awkward in the fitting of the album. For instance, PYD with R. Kelly. Now this, instrumentally, production-wise, it didn't sound all that bad. It was a little bit Bieber-esque, but at the same time, he was being a little more graphically, not exactly all that sexual. I mean, it really wasn't all that sexual at all, but for Bieber, it was just a little uncomforting, especially with R. Kelly. I feel like R. Kelly is able to talk about that stuff in that kind of manner, and we're okay with it. But when Bieber does it, it's like uncomfortable. It's like, Bieber, we don't want to hear you talk about that stuff. That's not why we're listening to your album. But at the same time, he feels like he's more mature and he can make that kind of more sexual-esque music. But at the same time, that's not exactly something we want to hear as the listeners of Bieber. R. Kelly, sure, we want to hear more than just that. But Bieber, not necessarily. Also, Roller Coaster, it's had the production where it sounded like it would be something like a lost cutoff of Lady Gaga's Art Pop. It was really upbeat, warped funk on the hook, and it was really just, I mean, it was not necessarily a terrible track, but it was a little awkward in the fitting of the album, especially after PYD. I mean, like I said, PYD wasn't awful, it was a little awkward, so was Roller Coaster. It just seemed to have this really warped production, especially on the hook, that added this odd feel to the album, especially it being mellow for a majority of the tracks. Not that I'm complaining that there was some spice, I just wish the spice wasn't all that awkward. I just wish it was, like, confident, where it sounded like he was confident in making the song. Not necessarily just doing it to hook you back into why you were listening to this and out of your little nap in the first couple tracks. And probably the most awkward song on here, Backpack with Lil Wayne. Now let's take a second to talk about this song. On this track, Bieber is describing a girl that came from outer space, and he felt so lonely, he felt like he couldn't have human love, that only an alien woman could fulfill that loneliness that he felt. And because she needs to go home, very E.T.-esque, he feels as though he needs to let her go, but at the same time, he doesn't want her to go. He wants to have her in his backpack forever, not letting her go home. Couple things wrong here, and one of them, yes, is Lil Wayne. Now, first of all, Bieber is describing this girl that's his perfect fit, the girl that makes him feel whole, as the alien. Okay, so when Lil Wayne comes out with this verse, not a terrible verse, not a great verse, but the problem comes when Lil Wayne is describing himself as the alien. He's saying he's from outer space. So let me get this straight here. Bieber, are you describing the alien you're talking about is Lil Wayne? Sure, you can go ahead and say that Lil Wayne is saying he's an alien to a different girl, and Bieber is an alien for a different girl also, but I mean, isn't it a little suspicious that Wayne is describing himself as the alien and Bieber is describing himself as the guy who finds the alien? Shouldn't you think you should differentiate that just for the sake of the song, you know? And also, they're trying to make a little bit of a connection to E.T. here, but the kid in E.T. understood that E.T. had to go home. Bieber is essentially saying, no, you can't leave me, I'm gonna stow you away in my backpack forever, you can never go home. Yeah, probably less creepy than that, but it's still something along the lines of that. Bieber, you're being a little creepy just saying you're gonna stuff this alien girl in your backpack and never let her go home ever. I mean, you gotta learn to let go, kid, it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure you can find other adoring fans other than an alien to lust after you. and a lot of futuristic production, or cheesy-ish futuristic production on that track that I found not all that enjoyable. Overall, that was probably the most awkward fitting track on there, because I just did not fit all that well for me, and I feel like he only did it just so we could have a Lil Wayne verse, and Lil Wayne is probably the whore of featured verses. What's Hattin' is Justin Bieber trying to sound like Future and having a hard beat to trick you to think you like it, so technically it's really not that all great of a song, but it has a hard beat, so you might find yourself enjoying it. Don't feel bad if you do, but it's kind of a bad song. And Memphis wasn't horrible. Big Sean delivered a decent verse, and Justin Bieber came in and had an okay song. Memphis wasn't horrible. It was more upbeat, but definitely a soulful approach. I feel like that's fine. Like, that's the kind of Bieber I like. More confident, but Memphis was okay. So, like I said, guys, I was interested at Heartbreaker, but, I mean, he didn't manage to keep my interest. He really made himself extremely bland. I like this Bieber more than the cheesy, the bowl-cut Bieber, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like he should be developing in a different way. He shouldn't be evolving from cheesy child Bieber to more bland adult Bieber. Try and get some more interesting things on your album. Don't make it so boring for us as listeners to listen to. It's respectable because Bieber isn't just trying to create more cliche music to get hits. He's trying to develop a character, but at the same time, that character is pretty dull. My only hope is that the feedback from this album possibly influenced him to create even better music for this upcoming album Purpose, and that is what I'm looking forward to. Actually going to be one of the first albums I listen to in this barrage of music that we have coming up. So, as if you should listen to this album, there are some songs you could pick off of this thing, maybe Heartbreaker, Confidence, and, I mean, maybe Memphis, it depends. Just some tracks here and there, but overall, this album as a whole, it's kind of a snooze fest, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Decent at best, but overall, just not for me, just not all that interesting. But slight props for maturing as an artist. That I can give him. And that is all I got for you guys. If you would like to like or subscribe, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate it. And till next time, Soulless Reviews.